I get a lot of questions about the right way to tap, and it's totally understandable, and hopefully this video will help clear up any confusion. So, as you've seen, it's just a gentle tapping motion at a rhythm like this. And in most of my videos you'll see that I tap on the right side with my right hand. You can also tap with your left side, or both hands at the same time. And I'm not big on rules. I like to say experiment and find out what works best for you, because different strokes for different folks. There are also different tapping modalities where people use different points, like the wrist points, where they'll tap like this or tap both wrists together. There's a thing called the temporal tap, where you use your fingers and tap around the side of your ear like that. I've used that at times. It can be very effective. You can also, if it's uncomfortable tapping, just hold the points while breathing. Or maybe gently rub them. If that feels more comfortable to do that, that's another good way to stimulate those points. And if you're unable to do that even, a lot of people find it very effective just to mentally tap, to imagine tapping the points, and that still stimulates them. So I prefer the actual physical feeling of tapping, but understandably there are times where that's not necessarily appropriate. And in certain situations you may find yourself wanting to tap subtly, where other people can't see, and you can tap what's called the Gamut Point right here in the back of your hand. You can do that very discreetly, or tapping the side of your hand, someplace where people can't see. You can also tap the finger points. So you can see here on the outside corner of the fingertips, so I just tap with my thumb like that on those points. You can do that in a very subtle way where people won't necessarily notice. People ask, do I need to say the words out loud? So you don't have to. You don't have to say anything, because the tapping can be beneficial with or without words. Now, when we're using the words, we're trying to get tuned in to what the emotional thing is, so we can be more laser focused with the process. And we find that when we're speaking out loud, we tend to be more emotionally engaged. So we get more tuned in, and the tapping tends to be more effective. But if it's not appropriate, if for some reason you're not able to speak out loud, don't worry about it. Still do the tapping. It'll still be beneficial. And folks often ask, well, if English isn't my native language, should I translate it? Again, I'm not big on rules, but experiment with it, because people often find that using their native tongue is more beneficial, because what's bothering them might have started before they learned English, so they might be more emotionally engaged using their native language. So if that's your case, experiment with it. Find what works best for you. Now, in some of the different protocols you'll see people using points that I don't use, or not using some of the points that I do use. In the original version of EFT that Gary Craig introduced, started with the eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, under the mouth, collarbone, under the arm. And that was it. And those are the points that were in the original manual. He later added in the top of the head and under the breast. So it's about 2 inches below the nipple on either side. I don't do that in live workshops, and not in most of my videos. I do tend to use that in teleclasses. Again, the process can be very effective without it, and some people may find that it's more effective with it. Experiment. Find what works. Oftentimes when I'm tapping along with the video, even though the video doesn't include the under the breast point, I'll add that in there. Just because, why not? So again, experiment with what feels right for you, and hopefully this will help you feel more confident using the tapping. And a lot of people will say it's silly, but to me, because of all the great benefits from tapping, the only silly thing about tapping is not using it. So thank you for doing what benefits you, and that'll ultimately benefit the world at large. Thanks for doing that.